Hi, welcome to Devil's Digest postgame report. I'm Hood Rubino reporting from Martin Stadium in Pullman, where Arizona State loses to Washington State 28-18, drops to 3-7 on the year, 2-5 in the Pac-12. Today's loss did ensure that Arizona State will have its first losing record since 2016. Back then, it did go 5-7. With two more games remaining for Arizona State, ASU has a chance to match that mark. And the question is, what kind of resiliency does this team have right now? Because let's face it, nobody likes to make excuses about injuries, but losing two of your best defensive players, linebacker Kyle Sole and cornerback Ro Torrens, was really too much for Arizona State to overcome, especially in the first half. Washington State scored all of its 28 points. In fairness to the ASU defense, I thought that the ASU offense did not do many favors. Two of their turnovers in the first half did actually lead to scores, did lead to shorter fields that the Cougars had to cover. And even though this is not your typical Washington State team in terms of being an explosive offense, Arizona State definitely gave them ample opportunities to have a very commanding 28-0 lead. So the second half, absolutely, it was a 180-degree turn really for both teams. Not that Arizona State played outstanding in the second half, especially on offense, but they did score 18 points. They did fail on a couple of two-point conversions, which may have had the score just a little closer in the end, but obviously that's all academic. But I give a lot of credit for the ASU defense that after a first half really had their heads bashed in, if you will. I thought in the second half really came out swinging and were able to shut out the Washington State team, which I think naturally did let their foot off the gas pedal a little after having a 4-score lead going into halftime. But nonetheless, that doesn't take away at all from an Arizona State defense, which, as I mentioned, was depleted with two of its star players. Sean Aguano, the interim head coach for the Sun Devils, after the game, talked about the resiliency, talked about the fight that this team shows each and every week, and they showed it against today. Granted, it's not a moral victory to have such a better second half than the first half, but maybe it's that resiliency, maybe it's their fight that can have Arizona State prevail in one of the next two games, which is the home game this Saturday against Oregon State, and then the Territorial Cup matchup in Tucson against the University of Arizona the day after Thanksgiving. So I think that if some folks think that this team has quit on its coaches and players just quitting on their team, that seems not to be the case. But nonetheless, when you have such a poor record, when you're really just shooting yourself in the foot time and time again, that becomes an issue. More on the Arizona State offense, as we know, starting quarterback Trent Bourget, who wasn't healthy all week long to begin with coming into this game, was also hurt during the game. Emory Jones came in, did not play the greatest of games, but did have 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. Xavier Valade is continuing having a great year at running back, had 134 yards today, scored a couple of touchdowns for Arizona State. And I said earlier in the year that it was hard to really fill the shoes of Rachaad White, but I think Xavier Valade has really minimized that drop-off between him and Rachaad White to a level that maybe a lot of folks did not think was possible. So we'll see how Arizona State does come out in the next two games. No game is going to be easy. Oregon State is one of the better teams in the Pac-12, and as we know, the Territorial Cup can definitely be unexpected. And Arizona State is looking to keep that win streak alive against the Wildcats. And I'm sure U of A is probably looking at that game as an ample opportunity to actually stop that streak. But for now, Arizona State tries to rebound against Oregon State at home. That's going to be the last home game of the 2022 season. And again, we'll see if that resiliency that we saw today in Pullman, that we saw last week in Tempe against UCLA, can actually translate to a win for Arizona State. Reporting from Martin Stadium in Pullman, Washington, this is Hood Rubino for Devil's Digest.